At the edge of an old coastal village in Japan, where mountains rise like ancient guards and the sea whispers its endless lullaby, there stood a wooden dojo. It had no grand gates, no banners, no signboard. Only a worn, sliding door, and a silence that felt older than time itself. People said the teacher inside could turn the slowest learner into a master. They said his students learned in months what others spent years trying to grasp. But no one knew how. No one dared to ask. The answer lived only in the shadows of that dojo. One cold, gray morning, a young man named Hiroshi stood before that door. His hands trembled. Not from the winter air, but from the weight of everything he had lost. He had once been the pride of his town, a young swordsmith's apprentice with skill beyond his years. But the fire that destroyed his family's shop took more than wood, blades, and steel. It took his father's life. And with it, his belief that he was capable of anything at all. After the flames faded, whispers spread behind his back. He's useless now. His hands shake. He'll never rebuild what was lost. Every night, Hiroshi woke to the same memory. His father's voice shouting his name through the fire, then silence. And in the morning, reality returned like a blade across his heart. Everything he once knew was gone. But one day, during a village market, he overheard an old man tell a story of a master who lived beyond the cliffs. A teacher who could make anyone learn anything 10 times faster than normal. A master who taught through a method older than the mountains. Shuhari, the old man whispered, as if the word itself was sacred. That whisper became a spark in Hiroshi's chest, the first spark since the fire. If he could learn faster, if he could rebuild what was lost, maybe he could reclaim his father's pride. Maybe he could silence the voices of doubt. Maybe he could silence the doubt inside himself. And so, after walking for hours along stone paths and forest trails, Hiroshi now stood before the dojo, rain soaking his clothes, breath loud in the quiet morning air. He slid the door open. Inside, a single candle lit the room. The air smelled of cedar wood and sweat. The floor bore the marks of years and tears, scratches, dents, and faint stains of effort. In the center sat an old man in a gray kimono, back straight, hands resting on his knees, eyes closed. His presence felt like still water, calm, but deep enough to drown in. Hiroshi bowed deeply. "Master, I've come to learn." The old man opened his eyes, not slowly, but sharply, as though waking from a 1,000-year meditation. "You seek skills," he said, voice soft but heavy. "But skills are not enough. What do you truly want?" The question pierced Hiroshi's chest like a spear. What did he want? He wanted to silence the laughter of those who doubted him. He wanted to rebuild the workshop, but he didn't even know where to begin. He wanted his father back. But most of all, he wanted to believe in himself again. His voice cracked as he whispered, "I want to be worthy." The master stood and walked toward him with steps that made no sound. "To learn," he said, "you must first be willing to lose." "Lose what?" Hiroshi asked. "Everything," the master replied. Before Hiroshi could speak, the old man turned his back and began walking toward a wooden door that led deeper into the dojo. "Come," he said. "Your first lesson begins." Hiroshi followed, but what he found on the other side was not a weapon rack. Not scrolls. Not books. It was a garden, silent, empty. A rectangle of raked sand and stones. "This," the master said, "is where you will begin." Hiroshi stared, waiting for instructions. Waiting to understand. "Pick up the rake," the master said. Hiroshi obeyed. "Rake the sand. Every line." Slowly. The master walked away, leaving him alone. Hours passed. His arms grew sore. His feet grew numb. Rain began to fall, ruining the patterns he had made. He raked again, and again they washed away. Night came. Still, he raked. Frustration bloomed like fire in his chest. Was this a joke? Was this mastery? Was this the secret to learning faster? Realization hit him like a blow. He didn't understand. He didn't know what he was doing. And it made him feel like a child again, helpless, lost, small. Tears gathered in his eyes. His hands trembled, the same way they did the day the fire took everything. He whispered into the night, "I can't do this." But the words didn't echo. Instead, another voice answered from the shadows. "You are used to learning with your pride," the master said. "Here you must learn with your heart." He stepped forward, rain dripping off the ends of his sleeves. "Shoo," he whispered. The first stage. You follow without question. You empty yourself. You let the world carve you. Hiroshi stared at the sand, lines ruined again by falling rain. His life felt just like that garden. Every effort erased. Every attempt washed away. Nothing lasting. Nothing whole. And something inside him broke, not in pain, but in surrender. He knelt, placed his hands on the rake again, and continued, this time, without expectation, not to prove, not to win, not to reclaim pride. Simply, to be here. The master watched silently, the faintest ghost of a smile on his lips. Hours later, when Hiroshi finally allowed his body to collapse onto the wooden deck, he saw something he hadn't seen all day, a single untouched line in the sand. Straight. Beautiful. Unbroken despite the storm. His breath caught. For the first time in years, he felt something warm in his chest. Hope. The master turned toward him. If you stay, he said quietly, you will be broken, rebuilt, and broken again. You will lose things you think you need. You will face yourself. And only then can you learn 10 times faster. He held Hiroshi's gaze. So I ask you only once. Do you want this, even if it destroys the person you are now? Hiroshi stared at the garden. At his trembling hands. At the old man whose eyes seemed to see every truth inside him, and he whispered, yes. But the master did not smile. Instead, he said the words that froze Hiroshi's blood. Then tomorrow, your training begins. And the first thing you will lose is your name. The candle flickered. The rain stopped. The world went silent, and Hiroshi realized he had just stepped into a place where his past no longer existed. The next morning arrived quietly. No sunrise fanfare, no gentle chorus of birds. Only the cold breath of dawn slipping through the wooden beams of the dojo. Hiroshi woke on a thin tatami mat, shivering. He reached for memories of warmth, his father's voice, the glow of the workshop furnace. But like dreams, they scattered before he could hold them. The sliding door creaked open. The master stood there, a bamboo staff in hand. His expression was unreadable. Follow, he said. They walked outside to the training grounds. Dew clung to the grass. The earth smelled wet and young. Hiroshi expected swords, perhaps drills, something he could do. But the master simply handed him a small wooden bucket. Fetch water, he said, pointing toward a stream far below the slope. Fill the barrel before sunset. Hiroshi blinked. 1 bucket, 1,000 trips. Yes, the master replied. Shoo. He walked away without another word. Hiroshi stared at the bucket, his jaw tightening. He wasn't here to fetch water. He was here to learn, to rebuild his life, to become stronger. This felt like punishment. A waste. A cruel test. He almost turned back. But then he remembered the untouched line of sand he had made the night before, accidental, imperfect, yet strangely divine. It had stayed through the storm. Something he did, lasted. And that faint flicker of hope was enough. He walked to the stream. Each trip up the slope made his legs burn. His shoulders ached. The bucket handle carved angry red grooves into his palms. Time dragged like a heavy chain. He counted trips. 20. 40. 60. His breath became ragged. His mind screamed, this is pointless. I am wasting time. I came to learn, not to serve. With each return, doubt sharpened its claws. His father's workshop rose in his mind, the smell of metal, the hiss of quenching steel, his father's proud smile. And then, the sound of wood collapsing, fire roaring, his father coughing through smoke. His grip faltered. The bucket spilled. He sank to the earth, fists trembling, chest tight. All the strength he once believed in felt like a memory belonging to someone else. What am I doing here? He whispered, voice breaking. Footsteps approached behind him. You measure learning in outcomes, the master said quietly. But real learning lives in repetition. He knelt, lifting a handful of water from the spilled bucket, letting it drip through his fingers. You say you want your father's legacy back. Yet you resent the labor that legacy was built on. Hiroshi bowed his head, shame cutting deeper than exhaustion. The master did not offer comfort, only truth. Stand. Continue. Hiroshi stood, not because he felt strong, but because the alternative felt like dying twice. As he climbed again, he noticed something. His movements began to flow. His breath found rhythm. His pain dulled, replaced by a strange presence, a feeling that only this moment existed. Not the barrel. Not the end. Only water. Step. Breath. Return. When the final bucket poured into the barrel, the sun had already bowed its head behind the mountains. His body felt like shattered glass held together only by will. He collapsed beside the barrel, chest heaving like a broken bellows. The master approached. "Good," he said. "Now again." Hiroshi's stomach twisted. "Now? But I..." The bamboo staff struck the earth, inches from his hands. "Shoo!" the master repeated. And that night, muscles screaming, vision blurring, Hiroshi carried water under the moonlight. His second collapse was not graceful. He fell face first in the dirt, and did not rise. Darkness swallowed him. He awoke to warm steam drifting into his lungs. Someone had placed a bowl of miso soup beside him. He sat up slowly, hands shaking, and took a sip. The warmth traveled through him like light through darkness. On the table beside him lay a wooden board, inked with a single word, "Are not Shu." Not the stage he was still suffering to understand. The stage where form is broken, where self begins to shape. His heart fluttered with confusion. Was this a mistake? The master entered. "You saw the word and thought you earned it," he said. "That is ego. Throw it away." Hiroshi flushed. "Then why give it to me?" "To show you how quickly pride returns." He took the board, held it over the flame of the candle, and let it burn to ash. "You are not ready for he said. "You are barely beginning, Shu." Then he sat across from Hiroshi. "What you lost in the fire, you cling to as if it defines you. But loss is not identity. It is the doorway." Hiroshi didn't understand, not fully, but part of him wanted to. Days passed. Weeks blurred. Work replaced thought. Sweat replaced words. He learned to rake sand without expecting beauty. He learned to carry water without counting trips. He learned to wake before sunrise and sleep only when his body demanded it. Pain no longer defeated him. Silence no longer frightened him. The world outside began to fade, until only task, breath, and presence existed. One evening, as he practiced sweeping the dojo floor, a task he'd done every day without complaint, the master watched him quietly. "You no longer resist," the old man said. "Good. Now your name." Hiroshi lifted his gaze. "You said I would lose it." "Yes. Because you still cling to who you were. Names are anchors." The master pointed to a stone lantern in the garden. "There. Kneel." Hiroshi obeyed. The master dipped a brush in ink and drew a character on Hiroshi's forehead. Not Hiroshi. A new name. Kara. "Empty." His breath caught. "You will answer only to this," the master said. "Until you learn to fill the emptiness correctly." Later that night, alone beneath the moon's white eye, Hiroshi, Kara, touched the dried ink on his forehead and whispered the name to himself. Empty. A name that felt like both death and beginning. He closed his eyes. In the darkness, he heard his father's voice again, not calling for him, not in pain, but laughing, teaching, living, and something inside him, softly, painfully, began to change. Winter arrived like a whispered warning, snow settling quietly over the mountains, the ocean freezing into silence. Kara, formerly Hiroshi, no longer woke shivering. His body, once thin and unsure, now moved like something carved by intention. His hands, once trembling, now obeyed him. But the greatest change lived not in his muscles, but in his gaze. Where sadness once lingered like an unspoken apology, there was now stillness. A quiet that did not come from emptiness, but understanding. He trained without question, fetching water, sweeping floors, raking sand, repeating motions until they no longer felt like tasks, but breath itself. One night, after months of silence, the master approached Kara as he swept the dojo floor. "Stop," the master said. Kara lowered the broom. "You have entered our eye." The master continued. "Not because you tried, but because you stopped trying." Kara did not answer. He had learned that silence was often the truest response. The master led him into a dark room lit by a single lantern. In the center lay an object wrapped in black silk. "Beneath this cloth," the master said, "is what you came here for. But you no longer desire it. That is why you are ready." For a moment, Kara hesitated, fear creeping in like the ghost of the boy he once was. But he reached out and slowly lifted the silk. It was a wooden sword, beautifully carved. Simple. Balanced. Plain yet perfect. Kara blinked. A training sword. No, the master whispered. A mirror. Kara stared, confused, until he slowly lifted the blade. Eye and its polished surface. He did not see the weak apprentice. Not the grieving son. Not the broken boy. He saw a man capable of rebuilding the world he lost. The master spoke again. H.A., he said softly. The stage of breaking. The moment you choose your own way. Kara understood. Shu, obedience. Ha, breaking through. Re, becoming one with the skill. He had begun in pain. He had moved through surrender. And now, he arrived at clarity. Yes, Kara whispered. I am ready. The next morning, the master stood at the gate of the dojo, the same place where Kara once arrived, trembling, soaked, broken. You no longer belong here, the master said. You must return to where the storm began. Kara clenched his jaw. But I have only begun to learn. You have learned everything, the master replied. Because you have learned how to learn. He handed Kara a small satchel. Inside, a strip of torn cloth burned at its corner. It was from Hiroshi's father's workshop. Kara's throat tightened. I thought it was destroyed. The master smiled. Not all flames consume. Some reveal. Then he stepped aside, allowing Kara to walk into the morning light. The journey back to his village felt different. The world seemed slower, as though every leaf, every stone, every cold gust of wind existed only for him to witness. He arrived at dusk. What remained of the workshop was nothing more than blackened wood and collapsed beams, scars frozen by time. But Kara stood before it without fear, without shame, without grief. He knelt, placing his palm on the earth where the furnace once roared. Father, he whispered, voice steady. I did not come back to mourn. I came back to build. And he began. First, he cleared debris, slowly, with presence. Then, he rebuilt the foundation, stone by stone, breath by breath. Villagers watched from afar, whispering. He returned. Does he think he can fix what can't be fixed? He still believes? But Kara didn't hear them. He had learned how to silence the world, by listening only to what mattered. As weeks passed, something strange happened. One by one, the whispers changed. A young boy approached, shyly offering to help carry wood. Then another villager came, bringing nails. Then someone offered food, and slowly, Kara was no longer alone. When the final beam was placed and the workshop stood once more, smaller, humble, but alive, winter snow began to fall. Kara lit the furnace for the first time. In years. As flames rose, he expected pain, memories of screams, loss, fire. Instead, he felt warmth. Renewal. Life. He whispered the name he once lost. Hiroshi. The ink on his forehead had long washed away, but the lesson remained. Loss is not the end. Emptiness is not failure. To learn, to truly learn, is to shed the self that clings to answers, and become the one who is willing to begin again. The door of the workshop slid open. The old master stood there. Hiroshi stared, stunned. You came? The master stepped inside, nodding once. I did not come to see a building rise, he said. I came to see you rise. He handed Hiroshi a single sheet of paper. On it, 3 characters: Shu, follow, Ha, break, Re, become. These are not stages of mastering a skill, the master said. They are stages of mastering yourself. Silence settled thick, sacred. The master turned to leave, pausing only once at the door. You learn 10 times faster, he said. Not because you trained harder, but because you surrendered sooner. Then he vanished into the snowfall. Hiroshi stood alone, the furnace glowing against his skin, the weight of his old life lifted. He picked up a hammer, his father's hammer, and held it like the first breath of a new world. And with a quiet, steady voice, he spoke the final truth learned through pain, surrender, and fire. Mastery is not becoming more. Mastery is becoming less, until only truth remains. As the night grew cold, Hiroshi raised the hammer, and began again.